The New York Jets have been without an edge rusher for what seems like 15 years, but it seems like there may be an opportunity on the horizon should the New York Jets trade for Danielle Hunter. All right, guys, welcome in. My name is Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. We are talking a little bit of trade drama, rumor news, and I kind of like it. This is exciting. The New York Jets haven't had an edge rusher in a very, very long time, and this trade would allow them to get just that. This is talking about Danielle Hunter. Now, this is coming, grain of salt, from an ex-Jets scout. So if we have to really kind of dial it back here, because if we've learned anything from our ex-Jets scouts, it's probably that they can't scout. Our draft classes have been horrible, aside from like the last year really, with Joe Douglas. So grain of salt, out of the way. But let's talk about this. Danielle Hunter, he is 27 years old. He's 6'5", 263 pounds. Pro Football Focus graded him as an 80.8. He was 14th out of 109 edge rushers on their grading scale. He only played in 7 games this past year. He recorded 38 tackles, 6 sacks, and 10 quarterback hits. He wound up missing the rest of the season due to a torn pectoral muscle. He is the fastest player in NFL history to get to 50 sacks. He did miss the 2020 season as well. He had a herniated disc, but if you look at him at the beginning of this season, he wound up getting 6 sacks in just 7 games, and he made Kyler Murray so uncomfortable. He got 3 sacks of Kyler Murray in there. I think it was like a week 3 game or whatever it was. So I'm not worried about the injury from 2020. I know Jet fans, you're always panicked, like, oh no, we can't have injury bug. And I get that. I completely get that after the last few seasons. So I'm not worried about the herniated disc. The torn pectoral, I think that's gonna heal too. That's not really something that you re-injure more than once. So injury-wise, I'm not that concerned about him. Now, why would the Vikings be doing this? Obviously, they have a really talented team. What is the rationale here? Well, going into next season, they're slated to be over the cap by $16 million, and that's before signing their draft class. So that's like, they're going to have to make a lot of cuts. Now, they could cut Danielle Hunter for a $14.5 million savings. That's entirely possible. He has 2 years remaining on his contract with an additional 2 voided years. That's to kind of stretch out his salary cap hit to make them a competitive team for the last few years. Now, that being said, his cap hit for them this year would be like $26 million or something crazy like that. If he's traded, he's on a 2-year contract. It would be $20 million for 2022, and it would be $5.4 million in 2023. So realistically, when you trade for Danielle Hunter, you're going to need to rework his contract because you don't want to eat that whole $20 million cap hit this year and then just wind up having him sit out next year because there's no way he's playing for $5 million. So realistically, you're going to have to rework his contract. So maybe you get him on like a 4-year, somewhere between $15 and $20 million a year, realistically. And you might say, hey, that's getting up there in age. Do you want to pay someone that much money? Well, Chandler Jones down in Arizona, since turning 27 years old, he's added 60.5 sacks, and he's going into his 32-year-old season this year. So I'm not concerned about age. Edge rushers tend to do pretty well. And this guy's elite. This guy is absolutely ferocious. By all accounts, he is a really, really hard worker, which allowed him to come back from that herniated disc at 100% capacity. I think this is the type of player that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh would really look for. If you look at if you look at Robert Saleh's defenses in San Francisco, his first 2 years there, they were not very good. They bring in Nick Bosa into that lineup, and they are elite. And then they wind up losing him, and then the next year he's not so good. So edge rusher, incredibly important for Robert Saleh's defense. I think that's what we would have seen if we had Carl Lawson. So now you have Carl Lawson coming back and possibly Danielle Hunter. Hoo-wee! That would be one hell of a nightmare for the AFC East quarterbacks. Now, what would it take to get him? Because in this report, or article, I guess, they're talking about giving up the 10th overall pick. The Jets have talked about moving that 10th overall pick for some proven talent. Now, would I give up the 10th overall pick for an edge rusher? I'd consider it. I think it's the type of position that is worthy of trading a first-round pick, but I don't know if I want to give up a top 10 pick. There's supposed to be 7 guys within the top 25 that are worthy of an edge rush selection. So you have to kind of weigh those pros and cons. Do you want the cheap contract with an unproven player, or do you want a higher contract, giving up the draft pick, but then also having proven fastest sack leader to 50 sacks in NFL history already on your roster? So you're kind of juggling that sort of balance here. Now, We've talked a lot about trading 10 and sliding down a few picks to another team that was looking for a quarterback. Could you do that with Minnesota? Short answer, not really, no, because Minnesota's picking 12. Right now, the Jets' number 10 overall pick is worth 1,300 points. The Vikings' 12th pick is worth 1,200 points, so it's only a 100-point difference, which means fourth-round pick is the difference of going back and forth. So, sadly, probably not going to be a realistic option unless they're looking to work out some type of trade with other picks involved where they jump in front of Washington to get a quarterback or something like that. I would say this would probably be pretty far-fetched. Now, would I trade number 10 straight up for Danielle Hunter? Oh, man, that's rough. I'm not sure if I'd do that. One other option that we could consider, and that is the Jets trading number 10 for Danielle Hunter plus Minnesota's 46th overall pick. So the Jets wind up moving down from number 10 to number 46. That basically puts Danielle Hunter's value at about the 20th overall pick. And I think that's probably a little more palpable palpable? Is that the right word? That's probably the wrong word. I think it's probably a little bit easier to swallow that type of trade, especially because they're going to have to cut him anyway. It's not like they're going to restructure this guy's deal. They just restructured it. I think he's more than likely going to be cut. He's one of the highest cap savings they could have on their team. So we'll see. Now, I don't expect the Jets to be bidding for his services in free agency because I don't know if we're going to be able to contend the way he may want to contend at his current age. So trade is where bad teams like the Jets could make up a little bit of ground and pick up some really good talent. So, guys, I'll leave you with this question. Do you want to trade for Danielle Hunter? Do you think this is a move that Joe Douglas would make? Do you think this is a move Robert Saleh wants to make? Is it a move you guys want to make? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, go Jets.